Quick update on the Ranchu. These are the Ranchu I have left that are healthy. I think at this point, I've decided that I shouldn't wait so long for the perfect Ranchu to buy at a online that I trust. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to breed the fish that I have, and most of the time when I breed, the Ranchu always end up like this. Sometimes it takes 2 years for them to end up like this, but this is the hardest thing about breeding Ranchu is the swim bladder issues. And in this batch, I had a lot of babies, and I raised them up, and they'd be healthy for a year or two, or the third year, then they sink. Now this one has had this problem for maybe like 6 months now, and it eats, but there's no quality of life for it, and they also get sores as well. But this one, several years old, this Ranchu, and it doesn't seem to have any issues. This Ranchu I had for 7 years, no issues. This one I think I had for around 4 years. And this is from the first batch I ever bred back in 2018. Again, doesn't have any serious swim bladder issues. So I'm thinking rather than find the Ranchu with the best, shape and looks and everything, maybe just breed the best Ranchu genetically that have good organs that aren't going to affect their swim bladder. So I got these 2 in 55 longs, and I'm going to go ahead and move them down here to a 75 to breed. And I have this water sprite that I'm going to use, as well as some pom-poms for the breeding stuff. I'm really excited to get back into breeding Ranchu. Reason I picked this tank rather than using a 55 is because it's lower and it's actually easier for me to siphon from. I'm going to be doing a lot of water changes for this tank. Going to be adding some plants as well. Going to add some filtration. I'm also going to add some African cichlids to these tanks. I'm thinking about breeding Dimensoni, if I'm saying that right, or yellow labs, or maybe red zebras. Not sure what I want to do at this point, but something that's easy to breed and then easy to sell the babies. I'm going to use that tank as well. I'm going to move this Ranchu to one of the tubs over there. So I found this nice piece of driftwood outside one day, and I threw it in one of the ponds until it sank. And I used this razor to remove any bark from the driftwood, because that's still going to decompose on the driftwood and can create a mess. Also, sap apparently is toxic, but I'm not sure how toxic it really would be in the aquarium. But I wanted something clean I can put into an aquarium. I'm going to attach an Anubias piece to this wood, and I think I like the way it just sits up like this. This is the Anubias I'm planning to cut to glue to that piece of driftwood. It's kind of taking over this tank and competing with these Java fern, and it's pretty much engulfed this piece of wood as well. And you can see as it gets closer to the light, it looks like I might have some algae on this. So it doesn't look particularly healthy. Some of the leaves do, but as they get closer to the light, they kind of look different. They don't look as healthy. So gonna take a piece of this by cutting the ribosome and gluing the roots to that new piece of driftwood. Oh wow, look at all that root. I think I could probably just cut this ribosome right here. This is the horizontal green trunk, and then attach it that way. I cut it in the water instead of taking it out of the water. I think that's a lot better. Let's do that. So I just drilled a hole, and you can hear it, the air coming out of it. Now this is what's interesting. All the sponges, well, most of the sponges and airlines aren't flowing any air right now across many tanks. Looks like that one, I could see some air coming out of that air stone. But now, when I plug this with my thumb, it's quiet, all of the sponges started going. That air stone's going crazy. That one's going. Even the ones down below. But now I take my thumb off. Air stops. It's very interesting, I think, how the air goes from higher pressure to lower pressure areas. But basically, I drilled this. I'm going to add another valve here for an airdrop to the goldfish tank I'm setting up. I added a bubble Zist filter in the back corner, which I got at the aquarium co-op. Added the floating plants too. I don't really like the water sprite as much as other plants I've had in the past for breeding because they're just not bushy enough for eggs and for them to swim through. I also have the pom-poms there. Use the rubber band to kind of keep them together. I'm gonna probably get some more of those because it's just not bushy enough. If you guys have any recommendations for floating plants, really appreciate it. The hornwort has worked well for me in the past, but it seems to only do well with sunlight and in warmer climates. I was at a wedding the other day and they were giving out these plants, they're succulents, so I was thinking of just having it down under there and watering it with aquarium water and keep an eye on the algae. Got the Anubias to stay down, and I just have the wood sitting on the roots so it doesn't float up. Since it's such a big piece, it has to go in this tank. All the other tanks are too short or are not compatible with this Anubias. Gonna start adding some Java fern and some other plants I had lying around. Quick update on the 35 tall. This sponge filter isn't running and the air is turned up all the way. So I think there's something blocking it. So I'm going to take it out and clean it and see if I can get air flowing through it again. It was pretty dirty, but it looks to be flowing just fine. Yeah, you got to clean these after a while or they get clogged. Sometimes a snail will get in there and completely clog it, and that gets kind of annoying after a while. It makes me not like sponge filters as much. So this kind of fuzzy stuff is getting out of hand. This piece of driftwood's pretty dirty. I'm gonna go ahead and rinse that out. And looks like we got some blackbeard forming on one of the leaves. At least that one, that little black line at the edge of the leaf, that looks like blackbeard. So I'm going to keep an eye on it before I panic on that. I'm gonna do a water change, gonna siphon out all this poop from the goldfish, clean the sponges, and then I'm gonna add some more plants, probably from that one down there, move it up here, and I'm thinking about moving some fish up here too. So I made the mistake of squeezing the sponge filters out in the tank, and it's insane. There was uneaten food inside the sponge filter. So anyway, I got a lot of work to do. So it's been about a week, and the snails seem to be helping with this algae. You can see half the leaf has the brown algae, and the snails seem to have taken care of half of it. So far so good. I don't have any fish right now, but this is what we're looking at. And it looks like some of the fungus has come back. I'll keep an eye on it, but the tank's a lot cleaner now. Planning to make this a community tank. So I'm planning to move the fish from the 75, if there's enough room, to this tank right here and use that 75 for African cichlids. So quick update on these tubs right here. Dwarf Sage, I was a little bit worried about, honestly, because it wasn't like going crazy instantly, because I've had a different experience in Florida where you had full sunlight and dirt, but it started sending out a runner right there, right next to the plant there, to the left. And I'm very excited. I hope it takes over because Dwarf Sage is a very nice plant that doesn't get too tall. Made an impulse purchase today at, I think it was a PetSmart or a Petco. I was buying food for my dog. But anyway, this is an OB, not a peacock, but an OB Mbuna. I thought the coloration looked really good, and I'd like to breed it someday. It is a male. You can tell, well, I could tell because it was trying to mate with the other cichlids in the tank, but I just think they're beautiful. Had to record from the side. So if you guys have any ideas on food and what to feed these guys, please let me know. I know they need to have not a meaty diet, but more of a spirulina, algae-based diet. It does look a little bit skinny. By the way, OB stands for orange blotch, if you didn't know. And they come in all kinds of crazy colors. So it'd be interesting if I can get this one breeding.